Good evening, welcome back to Blackpool. Continued live coverage of the World Masters. Mark Shepherd and Nick Finn with you for this one as we watch the matchup between Phil Harrison and Dylan Leary. Two vastly experienced players, two Ultimate Pool pros, two players with a lot of experience on the international scene as well. As with so many of the matches that we've picked out for the arena tables, this is a match that could so easily have been a quarter-final or a semi-final or a final, but it's come out the hat a bit earlier on. Just a reminder that this Masters competition is a random draw. It's a random redraw after each round of matches, so a bit of added suspense for the players. When they win their match, they're still not sure who they're going to be playing next. Playing race to 7 once again, 45-second shot clock.
Northern Ireland versus England, Dylan Leary versus Phil Harrison.
This is a last 64 match. We're getting towards the bottom of the last 64 draw now. There'll be one more round of matches. All of the last 32s will be played at 10:15 tonight. We'll be bringing you live coverage of a couple of those matches. The others will be taking place on the outside tables.
Extraction shot incoming. Very nice. Played that really well, so well controlled. A lot of players would have thought about coming off the bottom cushion into the back of it, but Dylan just controlled that beautifully, just past the red, a little kiss to leave himself on the yellow. It really was delightful. Dylan played exceptionally well in the pro events last weekend. He really is a man in form. Had a great chat with Phil Harrison last weekend as well. He's still enjoying the game.
Well, that's the thing about Phil, isn't it? It's not just the quality of play, but he just clearly loves playing. Like, he plays in whatever the competition is. It's not precious, even if it's not some prestigious pro event. He'll still play in it. Just loves to get out there. Dylan had a very good win in the last round to set up this last 64 match. Beat Callum Singleton 7-1. Callum definitely one of the form players and one of the up-and-coming players. Very tough first round draw.
One of his teammates as well. Both play for Northern Ireland.
It's been a pretty tough draw, hasn't it, for Dylan? So Callum Singleton in the first round, then you win that one, and then Phil Harrison comes out the hat for the next one.
Great start for Dylan here. Just needs to navigate this cue ball on and off the top cushion. Uses the side cushion too. Doesn't want to get stuck behind the red, that's just okay. A little glance pushes him nearer the cushion, but he'll take that.
Does look sharp, doesn't he? He's just, even visibly around the table, just seems to have that sort of added little swagger around.
Yeah.
Very sort of forceful cueing. I mean, he always cues a bit like that, but today just sort of really looks up for the job.
Always looks menacing. He's got that grimace on his face. Almost like he's snarling at the cue ball. Lovely man to be around, actually. Just a really nice gentleman. Fearsome opponent.
Goes by the nickname Lethal. So he's living up to that image with the demeanour around the table. As you say, completely different off the table, but very focused as you'd expect when he's out playing the match.
Here's we do have a problem with the scoring system. So if you have a problem with that, just hang fire. We'll try and sort it out if we can.
Always nice when you can win the first frame and win it off your opponent's break. It's an immediate chance to add a second frame. To wait a minute while the referee struggles to get the balls racked up properly. Dylan standing there with his break cue. It's become very popular the last few years to have a separate break cue. Something that, if you went back a few years ago in this tournament, it would have been very rare to see that, but now a good number of the players turning up with the separate equipment.
For those eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed Sean Story popping his head into view on one of the back tables. He's playing Luke Cronin. The cut break from Dylan. Almost felt like he caught the front ball there, just the side of the front ball on the way through. Didn't get a great split. Just that cluster of balls in one area isn't particularly inviting. He can go reds, and I think if he takes the one to bottom right, he's got an angle just to stun across into the two balls that are a problem on the left-hand side. I'm not sure actually. Yeah, he can just play alongside. Yeah. Just used the bottom cushion, judged it well again. There's a couple of little cannons he's played now. Played them really well. He's left a lovely angle here.
Key ball's the one immediately above the cue ball now. He's just coming around to look at what the options are for where that will go. Even though it's kind of in the middle of the table, it's pretty well guarded by the yellow, so he needs to get that unlocked. Once that's gone, the two balls at the top of the table shouldn't be too much of a problem.
He could play this and just, I don't know if he can just stun above the red on the side cushion, back into the yellow, and just push that yellow up table. He'd be left on the one down table and maybe open that red up. I'm not sure if he can avoid the red there. I think he can just screw by it. He's landed on it. I mean, this is pretty much the same actually. I mean, he can play that similar shot and just stun back up into the yellow to leave the red into the middle. I think he's got the angle to screw up into that yellow.
Scott Kennedy, please. Second ball, table 35. Scott Kennedy.
The traffic was always going to be the problem. There is a gap between the two yellows. If he could land that gap, I think he's just got the wrong angle to get there. I think he was playing to cannon the middle one of the three. Still that one tough ball, and now probably going to have to leave it until his last ball. He's very close to the middle of those three. If he moves it, then he opens a path. Tough finish this. Needs the cue ball to be absolutely pinpoint. There's no margin for error here. I think that's okay. I think he can drop this in. The cue ball just comes down. He wants a half ball cannon on that middle yellow again. Or just stun back to that gap. Yeah, it doesn't need to play the cannon actually. No, he's looking at both. He's weighed up both options, whether he plays the cannon or whether he plays the gap. Just depends how comfortable he feels. The gap.
That's a really good shot. Playing the gap was better in the sense that it didn't risk knocking any of the balls into an awkward position, but it was a small gap to find. It's got slightly the wrong angle, but it's absolutely fine. He just needs to get through, pop the ball to leave the 8 ball at slightly more distance, but he'll be pretty pleased to get to that stage. That was quite an intricate finish. It was one of those positions that at first glance after the break, you just said it was quite easy. Like a couple of balls had gone in, it looked like the others had kind of spread out, all just slightly blocking each other, so he had to play some quite accurate positional shots. Very good snooker player, normally a very consistent potter. Heart of the pocket. So 2 chances for Dylan Leary, 2 frames on his side of the scoreboard.
Looking good, looking lethal, and the farmer is stuck in his chair.
Can't really talk about how Phil's played because he is yet to do anything. Just the one dry break in the first frame, and then that's 2 frames away. He's well used to this, of course. He knows at this kind of level that you can easily lose a couple of frames without doing much. No player in the world with more experience. Won the world title all the way back in 2009. He's been a regular at this event for 20 plus years now.
Do we know how Phil got the nickname the Farmer?
I think it was because his family used to have a farm, was it originally? It's not been his profession, I don't think. I think it was a nickname that went all the way back to his early days.
Yep. Also adopting the cut break. It's not working for him. Oh dear. Phil does have a strong, effective front ball break. If there's any aspect of Phil's game that he's struggled with over the years, it probably is the break. It's just slightly the more weaker part of his game. If you can pinpoint anything in his game that you would call a weakness, because he's been a dominant force for so many years.
Absolute permanent fixture in the latter stages of the World Championships and the World Masters over a very extended period. And were it not for the fact that he came across over the years a few formed players, he lost a few times to Mick Hill, and when Mick was putting together the run to the 6 world titles, I mean, you're always going to have some rivalries in any era, but that was maybe the one that stopped Phil accumulating even more titles than he would otherwise have done.
A few tough shots for Dylan to play here. He can drop this in the middle, then he's got the one up the right hand side rail. Probably want to leave the ball that's closest to the left side middle pocket as his last ball. It lends itself perfectly to the 8. So I'll run this through and then probably try and take the top one of the 2 yellows that are close together. Play that one and then come back up table for the one at the top of the table to then use the bottom one of those 2 to link back to that ball near the left centre. That'll be the way the pattern plays out in his mind.
Finished up a bit close to the cushion, so it's having to dig down, but as you say, it doesn't just get up for the one at the top of the table ASAP. It's gone bottom one first to leave a bit more angle.
Yeah, because he had to, as you say, jack up and punch it in, it wasn't ideal to play the top one, because there's a bit more of a delicate shot from a more acute angle. There's no margin for error on the pot, so just took his medicine. It looks like he can't avoid the cannon on the red here. He may just be able to dig in and just get above it. Oh, he could. Probably just wanted another roll. This is okay. It's not quite the angle. And if you've got a slightly bigger angle, you can just use the natural weight of the cue ball to come down table. Now he has to play it with a bit more pace. So I think he'll try and, now he's got this angle, he'll probably try and stun inside those 2 reds just to take them out of play. You don't want to be on the right hand side of them, because then you're looking for gaps. Overhit it. Is he okay? Oh. Overhit it by 18 inches.
Yeah, it was that previous shot, wasn't it? He ended up just a bit too straight on the one on the ball cushion, and as a result of that, having to dig in. Because of the traffic on the right-hand side of the table, he was just nervous about getting anywhere near it, so he was trying to hit the ball cleaner and make sure he came well down the left-hand side.
He can clip this in, and there's a fairly, it's not a natural line, you can use side, so he's loading up with left-hand side, so it goes side cushion, top cushion and back. Well, he decided to just run the cue ball top and side and try and come down the right-hand side. I was thinking, it's one of those shots, if he plays it with kind of reverse side and almost stun. You stun the cue ball to the side cushion, then top cushion, and then back to the left-hand side of the table. Then you can't fail to have a shot on the 8-ball. Anywhere in that left quadrant of the table, can't fail to have a shot. Coming this way, it was a smaller margin of error. He's underhit it by a distance.
It's one of those ones as well. It's so affected by how thin you clip the previous ball. Like if you catch it slightly too thin, it takes the pace. Too thick, it takes the pace. So as a result, he's had to play almost a trick shot on that. He just couldn't get a clean hit on the 8. There was just no way of potting it, so he had to come off the cushion. Bit unlucky to find the middle pocket. It was a high tariff pot, but didn't necessarily have to give the foul away as well. And this is just a great position for Phil, because he's got a ball in hand if he wants to go for something, but no pressure whatsoever to with the 8 ball so tied up.
Yeah, having ball in hand is a great bonus here, because he can take care of the 2 problem reds immediately, drop the top one of the 2 and hold for the other ball. Playing at the check side. You see the cue ball spinning, just holding it down in this area of the table.
When you're 2-0 down in the match, this is exactly what you want. Nice, presentable chance. Just get your arm going.
I've said it so many times before on commentary. Phil's cue ball, he's built his game for many years, for decades, around his cue ball control. One of the best in the game. Just has the vision to know exactly where that cue ball's going. Even the shot there, just played it with a trace aside. A lot of players would have been worried that they'll graze the 8 ball on the way through, but Phil knew exactly he was going to miss a cue ball and come back up table. You rarely see him out of position. He never has to play expansive shots, never has to play those kind of big showboat shots that you see from other players, because he's rarely out of position. They're in his armoury, they're in his arsenal if he needs them, but he rarely does.
It's a very understated style as well. We were waxing lyrical about the quality of Shane Thompson's ball striking earlier on. Phil's cue action is sort of a bit simpler and doesn't necessarily have quite the same silky smoothness, but it's just deadly effective.
Yeah, it's almost a bit of a hybrid. There's not much. In fact, it's not dissimilar to Dylan's in some ways. It's very short feathers, just keeps it really, really simple. You have a feeling, I mean, I don't know, but I doubt Phil's much of a snooker player, because this cue action wouldn't lend itself to the snooker table. I mean, I'm sure he can pop balls, but I doubt he's a regular century maker. I mean, I might be doing him a disservice. He might be a great snooker player, but you just get the feeling with his cue action, it's a hybrid. It's a pool cue action.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I suspect he's such a good cueist that he would be pretty good if he turned his mind to snooker, but absolutely, it's not as natural a cue action for that game. I mean, he's one of the few players that's really dedicated himself to English pool over a very long period and hasn't actually been that tempted by any of the other cue sports. He hasn't played much competitive 9-ball, he hasn't played much competitive Chinese 8-ball, he hasn't played much competitive snooker. A lot of the other players have been tempted at some point or another by some tournament that they fancy the look of, but he's just stuck with the English 8-ball the whole way through.
Yeah. He's a great family man as well, so never really wanted to travel the world and apply his trade here, there and everywhere. He's enjoys being at home, spending time with his family, and we're going to see Dylan now. I mean, you see Dylan's cue action. When I say they're similar, I mean Dylan's a lot more fierce, but again, you feel that Dylan's probably wouldn't lend itself to snooker either. You'll see the way he addresses every shot. There's almost some anger in the way he feathers it, fast and furious, even on a gentle shot. And then he just feathers the shot at that last second. He just it's all suddenly comes under control. You see it with the break, but you'll see it even more with when he's in open play. Let's have a look at it if he makes a ball off this break, and he does. Wow. he'll love what he sees here. Reds are a dream.
On that point, though, the difference between the players, Dylan was a competitive snooker player for 30 years. He played on the Pro Tour for a long time. Reached the final qualifying rounds of the World Championships back in 1997. He's played snooker at a very high level.
Wow. Yeah, so you never judge a book by the cover. As I say, it's. Let me have a look at this cue action now. He gets down on this shot. He's going to play a gentle shot, but it's the same. It's feather of the ball, and then there's an unwanted kiss. It's okay. He's got the red next to the 8-ball long. I mean, he's given that red a nudge now, and I'm not sure. I think a minute ago it went to top left. I don't think it does now. He only moved it half an inch, but I think that was just enough. I think it only goes to the right centre pocket now. So you may see him screw back off the top cushion and back up above it. Or screw past it. Nice shot.
Yeah, that was a much better shot than it looked. If you're going to do a sort of top trump style comparison between the two players, Phil Harrison probably shades it on cue ball control. Dylan, I think, has got a bit more in the armoury on the long shots. He's happy to leave himself from a bit more distance in a way that Phil generally doesn't need to, because he's always in such good position. Very smooth cueist of a long pot if he requires it, Dylan Leary. Poole has been somewhat of a second career after playing all that snooker, but he's been around at the top of the game playing pool for quite some time now.
Seems like he's been hampered on pretty much every shot. I think he's just slightly hampered here by the yellow. It's certainly going to affect his bridge. And cue alongside the yellow, I think. And he's going to cut the one into corner just because of that. He's just got away with that one. He was giving it a look, a concerned look, because he potted it thick. He just potted it to the near knuckle, and that kind of killed some of the pace out of the cue ball. Sent it perilously close to that red. If he'd have grazed the red on the way through, he wouldn't have got there. And you see this shot now. So he's going to be some fearsome feathering, and then he's perfectly in control. In the last kind of feather, there's a pause and a really nice backswing, and a pause on the backswing as well. Very nice, very effective, and it's a 3-1 lead to Dylan Leary.
Dylan must have turned up in Blackpool with a lot of confidence this year. He had a great trip out to Morocco for the last staging of this event last year. He lifted the world team title with Northern Ireland, so he's defending world team champion. Also reached the quarterfinals of this World Masters event, ultimately coming up short against Declan Brennan in that quarterfinal. Had a very good run. He has previously been a World Championship semi-finalist going back 5 years ago, which was in fact the last time we were in Blackpool for this event. It was the last tournament pre-COVID, before the tournament had a couple of years off. Finding it very hot out in the arena, which is understandable. It's been a very warm day here in Blackpool, and there's a lot of people in this venue, so it's pretty warm in that main arena. Not the best first break from Phil Harrison. Looks like he's coming back to the front ball after the foray with the cut break last time out. That's pretty unlucky. He's got a good contact there, good split. Ball's down, but then the white ball finding the corner pocket. That was unlucky as well, because it was a kind of pinball effect. Although it was tracking a bit back towards that corner, it was hitting the side cushion well before the corner pocket.
Yeah, Phil seems to do that regularly. It's that front ball, and then the cue ball comes back up towards the corner pocket, and then the top spin takes over and bends it into the side cushion. He was doing that regularly a few seasons ago. unlucky to get kicked in off because it took a couple of kisses on the way through.
Right now it just feels like it's all Dylan at the table, getting lots of good first visit chances. And really living up to his nickname. He's looking very lethal when he's in amongst the balls right now. I think sometimes you do have good memories of a particular tournament. The fact that he's had good runs in the World Championships and the World Masters, you sort of turn up maybe feeling a bit more optimistic at the start of the week. You want to relive some of those glories.
That was one that had the potential to go wrong, playing a little cannon. It's okay, he's got a couple of balls that he can go at. Not ideal. He's got the one past the 8 ball to bottom left. I think, yeah, the red to the right hand side doesn't pass the yellow. But he may have the angle here to drop this in and go bottom cushion. And maybe cannon into the yellow. I think probably cannon to the bottom of the yellow, because if you move the yellow out of the way, you're going to be on the one along the bottom cushion. So 4 ball cannon into that yellow. Well, it's good news, bad news, I guess. I think when he came 2 cushions, I guess that was the angle he had. If he could have manufactured it off of 1 cushion, I think he pushes the yellow out of the way. If he's on this ball to middle, surely he's not. Through that gap between the 8 and the yellow. Wow, he's had a touch of luck there. Wow. How's he found that gap?
Reminiscent of Denmark's goal in the football against England the other night, where a gap appeared from nowhere. Well, I'd be delighted with that. That wasn't quite as he was expecting it to turn out, but so much easier being able to take it to the middle. It made the position more straightforward. Just as I say that, he's just played a slightly loose one. Cue ball drifting towards the cushion. Just fallen slightly out of perfect position again. Should still be able to recover it, but he's now left himself a more difficult shot. That wanted to jinx him. He's been up to every challenge so far. Many times he has had to pull out the difficult shot. He's come with the requirement. Wow, how's that nudge? That's a very good touch.
Wow. Dylan Leary, look at the look on Phil's face, that says it all. He just seems resigned to his fate at the moment. Dylan getting the touches. I mean, he's playing well, but when you get the rub of the green like that as well, I mean, it's not an absolute gimme because he's going to send the cue ball moving here, but that could have been horrible. And another great cannon on the 8 ball, pushes it up table. That won't lighten Phil's mood one little bit.
No, I mean, he played it the right way, but that was a cannon that could have gone slightly astray as well. It's turned out perfect.
On table 25 in the Lancaster, Batista Jackson, Corin Grattan. Batista Jackson, Corin Grattan.
Wow, what a clearance that was in the end. Took a couple of touches to get the job done, but he'll be delighted with that. 4-1 now. Not just the fact it's 4-1 as well, it's been all of his own making. It hasn't been errors from Phil. He's been let in by a couple of breaks that haven't been great, but Dylan's just been doing all the hard work. Quite challenging sometimes playing when it's very hot out in the arena. You see him toweling himself down. He's not a guy you see do that often. Some players you see do that a lot more, but it is very warm indeed out in that main room. There's a whole row of tables just behind where they're playing, and then also a row down the right hand side as we look at it. There's the other arena table is directly to the right of this, and there's another row of 5 tables, so there's a lot of people playing in this room. It's an incredible operation, this tournament. We've got 42 tables in play around the venue. So much action, men's, ladies, juniors. It's just the place to be if you enjoy playing your watching pool.
Table 29 in the Lancaster. Casey
So,
Ramsey,
what can
Melanie Riggs.
Phil make of this opportunity? He needs to get something going here. 4-1 down already.
Table 30 in the Lancaster. Leanne Cragg, Sarah Nicklin. Extension call.
His land, it's a horrible place to have to play a ball from. Couldn't do much with the cue ball at all and nearly goes in off. Just holds on to the table. And now it's actually a decent chance. It's thinner on this yellow, but if he can make it and hold position, should be in pretty good shape. All the yellows there. No, that's... Oh, it's dropped. Wow.
I have to say that pocket has been pretty generous. We've seen a few balls already this afternoon and evening, just grazing that jaw.
Didn't think that was going to go. I don't think Phil did either. He held his hand up to Dylan, and he's on this yellow to right corner. Certainly he's in great position.
His body language certainly didn't give the impression he thought the ball had dropped.
No. He thought he'd missed it. So did I.
And now that is the main challenge negotiated. Just needs to hold himself together for the last 5 balls.
Yeah, it's one more good shot. One more good positional shot on this one down the bottom left. He's not going to take it now. He's going to come. Well, I think he has to take it now. Take it now. Time it. Get the cue ball back up, and he's in great shape.
Table 17 in Trafalgar, please.
Between again, it's not ideal. He's between positions. He's on either one of these yellows, but the top one, the cue ball's just tracking away. There's no way to get great position. There's no simple positional shot. If he was higher up the table, then he could pop that and run through and take the other yellow. You want to be another 2-3 rolls up the table to be straight on this, to then leave the one to right centre. And so much so, that he absolutely loaded that up with right hand side. You saw the cue ball hit the top cushion and just ping off, and he's landed plumb.
That was a brilliant shot, because getting to the ball that he's now potting to the right centre was always going to be the challenge. And if he'd had to get position on it to the corner, it was going to be a very awkward route to have to go.
Much harder shot than it looked.
Well, we've seen both players come up with some good shots these last 2 or 3 frames. It's been a great quality of pool on display so far. Harrison pulls one back. 4-2 now to Dylan Leary. He'll be feeling a bit happier with that, because in truth he hasn't done a whole lot wrong. It's not a match where he's going to be dwelling on loads of mistakes. It's just a case of watching his opponent play some good stuff and watching him have a couple of quite favourable nudges in the last frame. Phil also toweling himself down between frames, feeling the heat out there. We come to Blackpool quite a lot over the course of the season now, with 5 Pro Series events here this year. Generally, most of the complaints are around being too cold or too wet. It's pretty unusual that you have a day as warm and sunny as this. So different experience for the players, being too hot inside the venue. Now, just also keep this momentum going. Hasn't been having a whole lot of luck off the break.
He's tried everything so far, Mark. He's going left of centre now. The last one he played was dead centre. Cue ball again. Just goes to that side cushion. One of the last balls moving, finds its way in. You can see Phil's shoulders slumped. He thought he was going dry there.
Would have been harsh if that had gone dry. It was a pretty good break. The ball is resting in the top corner pocket.
I think he'd like to be yellows. It's just whether he's on one. I don't know if he's on the one through the gap between red and 8 ball to bottom right. It's a bit of a tougher opener, but if you can get it, all the yellows do have a pocket. The reds aren't bad, but they just need a bit more work.
Yeah, the difficult red is actually probably the one right at the bottom of the table, because it just doesn't go to either of the corners and isn't in the easiest place to retrieve.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. That's why I was kind of looking towards yellows. But I'm not sure he's got an opener, so he's forced to go reds, and he has to think about what he's going to do with that red. I think the plan here would be to try and get on the yellow on the left-hand side of the table, play it off. Sorry, on the red on the left-hand side of the table, play it off the yellow into the bottom left, and that opens the pocket. It's just whether he can navigate a position to get across there, because it's guarded by those yellows above it.
Kind of a natural crowd forming around the table. So many other tournaments in play that participants and those who aren't playing are coming to watch the great quality of pool that these two are serving up.
Very unwanted kiss. He was trying to get a little bit lower to do exactly what I mentioned a second ago. Take that, take the red to middle, the one that's to the left of the 8 ball, and then run across and play that red on the left-hand side off the yellow to open the pocket. But in playing that shot, he's kissed another red safe, and he's got problems now. He has one ball in the middle of the table, which still goes. He may even have an angle to screw back into the problem ball, but he's not going to play that. He's going to have to come back to that one. Yeah, this is the shot that I was talking about. He had to manufacture a shot to be able to get onto this red. Now he takes the red off the yellow, pushes the yellow to one side, opens the pocket for the other red. But now he's pushed that ball safe on the right. What do you do with that?
Even though it may not have looked that difficult a position when he started, this is a perfect illustration of why these reds were so awkward, because he's really having to work for this. He couldn't really have played that last shot a lot better, but he's going to have to come up with another couple of good shots.
Yeah, the red that's closest to the cue ball now will pass to right centre. So he could try and leave an angle on that where he comes across and bumps that ball out.
Another good shot. He's played 2 great positional shots in a row. He's still got one cluster though.
If he's half an inch up the table, he's got the angle to punch across and get that red out that's on the left. And you kind of see that stereotypical kind of frustration from Phil, but he was always going to be, as soon as you're running into balls like he was there, you're always hoping for a spot of luck. When he's landed plumb on this, so he can still find a line. Just to find a line off the one to middle, and he's looking now, where do I need it to be so I can screw back. I mean, he could, yeah, he's definitely going to have to counter it. I was going to say, if he left a big angle there, he could have come up and down table and tried to play short position on it. That was a tough shot as well. This could easily go wrong. Needs to judge this can well. He's coming behind it, and that's no good. He's right on top of his ball. Can he play across the face of it? It's not touching ball, I don't think. I don't think he can. The look on his face suggests no, but you never know with Phil. Don't know if he can just, play right across the face of it and try and cut it to middle. Don't think the pot's there, so he's going for it. Keep the cue ball on the table, Phil. Oh, what a pot. What a pot. I mean, he's lost the cue ball, but to even get that red moving, that would have been a sensational shot if the cue ball stayed on the table.
When you look at him lining up that shot, the idea that the cue ball was going to end up in that corner, you just couldn't really have expected that. Well, we've had everything in this match. We've had a lot of quality, but a very unfortunate moment. Pulled out a very difficult cut, but ultimately to no avail, because Dylan's invited to the table with just a simple tidy-up job to be done. And Dylan's going to be loving this. He's had to really work for a few of the previous frames, but this is an absolute gift-wrapped chance. chance that will take him to 5-2, which is a useful lead when you're playing a best of 13. First man to 7 will be the winner. No concept of a match clock here, so the whole match will be played.
That would be a big relief for Dylan Leary. Back into a 3-frame lead and back in command of the match, but Phil Harrison was loading the pressure on. Dylan would have been extremely relieved to see that cue ball going off.
Yeah, I mean, not least because Phil is starting to build up confidence and actually looks to be playing fairly well. The reason Dylan's a long way up is that he's had more chances and he's been pretty clinical with the chances he's had. What he doesn't want to do is see his opponent warm up and start getting into the match. Phil, having clung on in there, is going to have to dig even deeper now. He falls 3 frames behind again. Here's Dylan's break next, so a chance to add to that. Well, Phil quickly switching back to the front ball break, but Dylan persevering with the cut break. Comes up dry that time.
Phil quickly out of his chair, surveying the table. Won't mind what he sees. Reds look good. Hardest shot would be the transition from this end of the table to the far end of the table to land on something. Just needs to look after the cue ball there because it's just a bit congested. The 2 reds that straddle the bulk line are kind of on top of one another, they're covering each other. And neither of those balls go to left centre, so he just needs to think about the order he takes these. He's going to need a good cue ball. This is the key to the frame in this shot.
It's always pretty hard to read much from his body language because he quite often has that slightly dejected look.
Yeah, the 8 ball and the yellow are right in the line of where he'd want to play here, so he's going to have to dig into it a bit just to bring it up the right hand side. Couldn't do much more there. Now he's got the one nearest the pocket and can just stun down into the yellow. But then he's left with these other 2 reds and there's still a problem. If they went to left centre, this would be simple, but they don't. He's going to open this pocket up now though. That's good. That's okay. So now he can come to the left hand side of those 2 balls. All 3 of these could end up in the same pocket.
He'd love to have had a little bit more angle, but he's got the right angle, just not tons of it, so should still be able to force his way over.
Yeah, I think he's okay. I think he's okay. He can play this with a screw and a bit of side. Yeah, just screwed across the face. He's had to slow down, doesn't want to be on the cushion. Not ideal.
For the first time in this match, we've seen a player picking out a very tiny gap, managed to get nicely through it. Just taking his mind slightly off the pace of the shot, as you say. This cue ball's just 6 inches further to the right. Get his hand on the table, it's much easier to control. No problem with the pot, but it's just a case of getting good position on the final red.
Yeah, maybe if you play this with top, you may even cannon the other red. I'm not sure if you can avoid that cannon. I think the cannon's inevitable, and if he does cannon it, he needs to worry about where the red goes. So it's not as simple as just making the pot here. There's several pieces to this puzzle.
Watched his opponent had a couple of lovely nudges earlier on in the match. He may need one of his own.
He's used his extension. Wow. Now Now then, that was always going to be the problem there for Phil. He's fuming. It's always going to be the problem. Position, just running out of position again, and that was just such a tough shot when you're jacking up. And as I say, so many different pieces to the puzzle, and he knew the pressure on it was immense, because if he turns the table over, the yellows are waiting. I mean, there's 3 yellows on the cushion, but you just fancy Dylan from here.
Not something you associate Phil with, missing when he's in the middle of a clearance. Dylan will gratefully accept this chance. These balls are sat really nice. The fact that he didn't have to travel around too much with the cue ball makes the ones down the cushions much easier. Maybe it's going to require a bit of thought. The one down the right hand rail, although it's the easier of the 2 pots down the cushion, doesn't have a ball that naturally links to it, so question of where he goes after that one.
Yeah, that red's gone a bit smelly. I mean, it's kind of where you'd want to be playing that yellow from. So he's either going to have to come inside it or play it from wider. No, he's certainly not going to be able to drop on it from yellow to middle. He's come higher. You have to use the bottom cushion here. Come on and off. This is suddenly getting tricky.
Landing on one of the 2 yellows is alright, but it's a question of how he gets between them. That's turned out pretty well. Needed to have about this angle just to make sure he can get the cue ball over to the other side of the table. Option of either dropping the ball down and playing the double, or forcing the cue ball over to the left hand side.
Yeah, I think he's got a nice angle to kind of punch across table, off the cushion and back over. Just don't want to come too high, because then you bring the middle pocket into play. There's not a massive margin of error here. Probably just a kind of 4 or 5 inch window to play into. He's stretched, he's hampered, he's queuing down. Tough shot. Played to perfection.
Could not have hit that ball any better. He's played some great stuff tonight. Perfect opportunity now to go 6-2 up. Just wants to draw the cue ball back a few inches. The 8 ball invitingly hanging near the middle pocket.
He really is striking a nice cue ball. Hitting it clean, finding the middle of the pocket every time. Dylan Leary now has a commanding lead. He needs one more frame.
What a lovely position to be in. Knows he just needs to win any one of the next 5 frames. It's a much starker position for Phil Harrison. He's got to win every single one of those 5 frames. No concept of a match clock here, so it is purely on the frames. So whoever gets to 7 goes through. The random draw for the last 32 will be happening fairly soon. That last 32 gets underway at around about 10:15 tonight, so 10 or a little after that draw will be in progress. So neither of these players know who they'll be playing next, they just know which round they'll be going through to. In a way, it takes a bit of the thinking out of the game. It's almost quite nice for the players. Depends obviously on the draw, but you're not getting distracted by what game is to come next. Just a case of getting the round and then find out the news. So Phil Harrison to break off in frame 9.
Another lovely break. Controlled it beautifully well. Cue ball straight back up the middle of the table. And Reds look okay. You definitely won't see too many problems on this table.
And that's what he needs, because when you've got to win 5 in a row, it's a pretty tough ask. You can only do what you can do, but you've got to take the chances in front of you. It's not really at the stage when he can be thinking about the complete comeback. It's just a case of putting enough pressure on his opponent, just hang on in there, send him the message that he's still up for this match.
You know, sometimes I think we take things for granted, and it's easy to forget how dominant Phil was for periods in this game. I mean, if you look back, about a decade ago, I think there was a year where they played 5 UK tours, and I think Phil won 3 of them. Am I right in saying that? I mean, that's just an incredible achievement.
His tournament record is just absurd. I think the fact that he has focused pretty much exclusively on UK 8-ball has been pretty helpful for him. It's meant that he's always put in a volume of tournaments, hasn't allowed himself to get distracted.
Wow.
Well, he certainly hasn't picked up that tournament record by missing balls like that one.
Wow.
Right now, Dylan Leary must just be thinking it's his night. Like, he's played well, he's had a few good nudges, his opponent's given him a few chances. Just feels like everything's coming together for him.
He's overrun that by a few inches. He was playing to leave one of the yellows, well, the yellow to middle. He's just covered that by the 8-ball. He's got a ball at the top of the table, to top left. Stun off the side cushion. Back in prime position. Should be a simple finish for the nail in the coffin.
This would be a great win. 7-1 against Callum Singleton in his first match. If he was to complete this, what a start that would be. 7-1 and 7-2 against 2 of the best players in the world. We get ahead of ourselves, but it's not very easy to see where the mistake would come from. These balls can kind of just be taken in order coming down the table right now.
Yeah, that's okay. Pretty much dead straight. You can top this through and use the side cushion with the top and left hand side. You know what? You can screw back. And screw back it was. He just had enough there to pinch the pocket and punch back across. Phil Harrison readying himself to shake hands with his opponent. This has been a very, very good performance for Dylan Leary. Who's to say his name's not on this trophy at the end of this encounter, this competition. If he keeps playing like this, he's going to be a tough nut to crack. That is a very, very solid win from Dylan Leary. Phil Harrison not quite at the races, not quite the performance we expect from him, but even so, take nothing away from Dylan. That was great stuff, Mark.
That was great stuff. We've seen some good performances from Dylan over the years, and he's won a lot of things, but I struggle to think of a time when I've seen him play with more purpose and more confidence than that one. Right from the first ball, it looked like he was up for it, and really, having watched a couple of frames, it sort of almost looked like he was the early favourite, and so it panned out. So, with that win over Phil Harrison, Dylan Leary books his place in the last 32 draw. That last 32 draw will take place in just over half an hour's time, when the matches will be called out to go on around about 10:15. We will be back with more coverage at that point from the last 32. Hope you can join us then.